So the filmmaking community definitely have their disagreements, like does gear matter or is Nikon a camera? But we all agree that log doesn't look good, and I would never export my films in log, and I don't think you will either. So today I'm going to show you how to take your log footage and put a beautiful look on it that you would make however you like. I'm just going to show you how to make it, and you'll be able to export it, put it online. It's going to look beautiful. You can get to show your family and friends, and they get to see how talented you are. So in order, however, to do that, we need some footage, and I am fortunate enough to still be in Virginia, where I'm surrounded by beautiful scenery and a beautiful golf course. So we're going to go and see what we can come up with, and I'll see you back here in a little bit. Let's go. All right, so we are here, and we are about to get some shots of my buddy Zach here, who's a pretty good golfer. We're going to get some good shots of you golfing. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, look, still in his work clothes. Love it. All right, let's see what we come up with. So I just got done shooting some cool footage. So let's come into DaVinci Resolve and look at the process. So you've opened up the page right here. You go into your sequence. I've already cut up a sequence. The first thing I want to show you is if you go to your file, go to your project settings, we're going to go to color management, and you want to make sure that these settings are like that, at least if you want to follow this workflow. So we got DaVinci YRGB, perfect. Timeline color space should be DaVinci Y Gamut Intermediate. Then your output color space is Rec 709. And then you come down here and just mark that make broadcast safe. So now you got that, you're good to go. Cool, so we have our edit right here, all of our clips. We're gonna go into the color tab. Now I'm not gonna do every single clip, I'm just gonna show you a few tricks. I'm gonna show you a really simple node structure that'll get you from something that looks like this to a nice finished look. Cool, so we're gonna start out. You will have one node here, so let's get a node going. You can go Shift S, so it'll create a node, and then if you have whatever node you have selected and then you hit Shift S again, it's going to put a node before it. So we'll do one here, and that's going to be our conversion nodes, and then we're going to create 1, 2 right here. These will be our corrections, and then 2 more. So it's literally only 4 actual nodes that are doing anything to the footage, and then just 2 conversion nodes. Super simple. Cool, so now that we've got our conversion, we've got this little setup, what we're gonna do is we're gonna label them. So go right here, I'm gonna call this DWG, and that's gonna be for DaVinci White Gamut. Then right here, we're gonna go Expo for exposure, and then do this for color, our contrast, and then finally our look. Oop, not final, sorry. And then right here we'll do rec. Cool. So now open up your effects and search color. We're going to take color space transform. We're going to put it on the last node and on the first node. So we're going to go back to your first node and then throw a color space transform. Cool. And then you're going to go here in the settings, and here's what you're going to do. So in the first node, you're going to go into your input color space, and then you're going to put whatever your input is. So for me, I'm shooting on a Sony, so it's Sony Gamut. So you do, so I just type in SO, and then Sony comes up, Sony Gamut 3, and then SO again, S-Log 3, and then just D. And the first one that pops up is DaVinci White Gamut, D again, DaVinci Intermediate. Perfect. Now we go to the last node, and then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to start with DaVinci. So D for DaVinci White Gamut, D for DaVinci Intermediate, and then R for Rec 79, and then R for Rec 79. Cool. So now what we've done here is we've taken our log footage and we've converted it from log to DaVinci White Gamut. And what that's going to do is just going to give you a little bit more of a flexibility and dynamic range to work with. So you'll be able to have a little bit more flexibility when you're adding your highlights and your shadows and all that cool stuff. And then from here, what's going to happen is now all your edits are happening to your DaVinci White Gamut footage, and then it's gonna at the end be converted from whatever you do to a Rec 709, which is the standard color space for like YouTube and all broadcasts and all that stuff. So now that we've got this little node structure built, we can take the effect off so we have more real estate. And then the next thing we're gonna do, so that you don't have to build this for every single clip, is you select your first clip that you have this node structure on, Command C that boy, and then Command V all of these things. And now, since we haven't done any actual edits, all that's going to do is copy over our node structure, right? So we don't have to build it for each one, and it's going to have our conversion LUTs on there perfectly, and all we have to do is just adjust the in-between settings. So I'm going to show you what I do and what the process is, because if you just follow this process for any clip, it's going to work out for you. So the first thing we're going to start with is our exposure. Now, before I even say anything, if you want to make this easy for yourself and you want to almost ensure that your color is going to look good, it's very important, because color grading or the look starts with how you shoot it. And I understand that with S-Log and all that stuff, you'll have more flexibility, but not often, right? So if you have a look in your mind, make sure that what you're shooting is going to help you create that look, right? So if I want like a teal and orange look, which is what I'm going to be going for here, if you shoot everything that has green in it, you know, and it's like overcast and there's no actual color, well, you're not going to be able to achieve that teal and orange, because there's nothing that is going to fit in that, right? It's just going to look like you put a lot of orange into the look. And obviously we can adjust colors, but it's still not going to look as good as if you did it with, like, if you were conscious about that, or you at least did it with lighting or something, right? So that's one big part about having good looking footage, is making sure that it's exposed right, and when you're thinking about all the colors and all the parts of your frame when you're shooting. So if we open this up, as you can see, initially it is a little bit darker. So, and you can also look at your waveforms. So you have waveform here, parade, waveform, vector scope, histogram. If you don't know what any of these are, it's fine. I'll talk briefly about these. Anyhow, so we're gonna look here, and we'll see it's a little bit on the darker side, which is fine. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go to right here, the exposure node, and then we're going to go into our primary color wheels. And if you're not familiar with this, lift, gamma, and gain. Lift is going to be your shadows, gamma is going to be your midtones, gain is going to be your highlights. So as you can see, we don't have like highlights, everything's going to be in the midtone range and some shadows here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my gamma, and then I'm going to lift it up, and that's going to should lift up the whole image. So we get it to a good point here, and then as you can see right here, our waveform is reflecting what's happening. Cool. And then if you do Command F, that's going to put that in full screen, and then whatever node you have selected, if you hit Command D, it's going to show you it before and after. So it's going to A/B it, just disable it basically. So before and after, I'm very happy with this. Cool. So the next thing we have right now is color correction. And then in color correction, this is where we're going to be adjusting the individual colors of things in the frame. And the purpose here is to make it look either realistic, or, for example, I've shot this on a golf course, so I don't like the super greeny greens, and we're able to adjust these slightly to make it a little bit more towards what we want. So that's what we use this color node for. And let's say your white balance is off, then you can come here, hit this, and then hit something white, and then it's going to do white balance. So what we're going to do then first is we're going to select our blue area. So we'll go to color, and we'll select our blue area. Now you come into this little curve tab. You're going to come with these few options: hue versus hue, hue versus saturation, hue versus luma. So what that's going to do is if you go to any of these, it's going to give you this little spectrum. And when you eyedrop a color, that middle dot is where that color is, as you can see. And now in hue versus hue, if you go up or down, it's going to adjust the color. So up and down, as you can see, this is towards the green air side, and this is towards the red side here. So I want it to be a little bit more towards that nice cyan-y look. And then the next thing I want to do is, as you can see, now we have our blue in the sky, and I told you I'm going for this like teal orange look. So what can I do here to make that happen almost naturally is, as you can see, there's this little orangey ridge here, and we have the sun, this was like on golden hour, so we have a little bit more orange that we can bring out here. So in the color node, I'm going to open it up, I'm going to zoom in, Make sure I'm getting precise, and then we're going to go right where it's really bright, and then hit that up. And then here, we get to adjust it to make it look, see now it's a little too red for me, so we can bring it back. And now it's nice, so we got the blue and the orange here. It looks perfect. So this is our color correction. The next thing we're going to do is contrast. Now contrast, you can also, it will be reflected in your waveform. Whoa, sun's coming in. The sun decided to peer out of the clouds. Alright, so our contrast is going to be reflected just like our exposure in the waveform. So the lower that, so contrast just means how wide this is. So this is where your blacks are, and this is where your whites are. And as you hover here, it'll tell you. So our blacks are pretty dark here. And you'll hear this a lot of times that, you know, the black should, anything that's supposed to be black should be touching the bottom. Anything that's supposed to be white should be touching the top. Not necessarily. A good amount of contrast is always good. It's going to bring out, it's going to make your image pop. But it doesn't always necessarily have to like touch the boundaries, you know, it doesn't have to always be clipping either. So here we can look at it. I can add a little bit of contrast just to make this pop a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add a little bit of contrast. So in our contrast node, we'll go back to our primaries. And then I'll make sure I'm not, the sun is killing me. And then we'll hit the contrast here. Before and after. Yep, it's nothing crazy. Just like that. And now I think I can go back to exposure, pull up the gamma just a little bit more, just to make it more poppy. Cool. Now that we've got our exposure and correction and contrast all dialed in, now it's time for the good and fun part, which is the last look. It's a creative look. So here is where we go to look. We're going to go back to primaries, and as you can see here, there's these little color wheels. So these color wheels are going to affect whatever you select. So if you're going blue in lift, it's going to add blue into the shadows, and then anything you adjust is going to adjust to the perspective node, or to the perspective area that you're trying to control. So here's one tip. Do not add a lot of color, or any if you can, to the gain, because the gain is going to affect a lot of that like sky and stuff that you don't really want affected. So I always try to just stay between the lift and the gamma. So let's add a little bit of that teal into the shadows here, and then push back some of that orange. And then you'll notice that when you do this, you might have to go back and add some other stuff to complement and make it look better. So we add a little bit of that look, and then now we'll just look at it before and after. That's all we need. Beautiful. Alright, so that's the first clip that we edited. I'm going to show you another clip, and the only reason I'm going to show you this other clip is just because it is going to be a little bit different than this. This is kind of flat. It's not super contrasty. You know, this is going to be a little bit more contrasty, and as you can see, we have a lot of elements going on here. So we have like haze, we have all that stuff. So I'm going to show you how to tackle that with the same exact structure, not adding anything else. So again, here we have all this already set up. So exposure, we'll look at our waveform, and we'll see that our brightest spot is the sun right here, but it's not clipping, which is perfect. And this is black, and it's kind of near the bottom, but it's not too, you know, it's not super black. So, however, the haze here, I don't want to get rid of it completely because I like that little haze. In order to remove that and combat that, you're going to add a lot of contrast. So that's what's going to get rid of it. So exposure, however, I see that it's mostly fine, but I can definitely lift a little bit of the shadows up and some of that midtones just so we can able to see. But we're going to go to color, and the only thing I'm going to adjust in color is the greens. I don't like the super greeny green. So what we're going to do is color, and then we're going to go to curves, and then we'll just select where the lightest green is, and then just bump it up a little bit towards that orange. Not too much. Perfect. That's it. Then we go our contrast. Now here's where this is going to help a lot. So we're going to go our contrast. We're going to push our contrast a bit right here. Alright, so nice. This is before and after. So it's still got some of that haze here, some of that little white leak, which is good. I like that. But most of that ugly haze is gone, and it's not super washed out anymore. Perfect. And now we're going to do the last thing, which is add a little bit of a look Now, if you notice here, there's a lot more shadow. So even a little bit of that shadow adjustment is going to affect a lot of the frame. So these are the things you should be paying attention to when you are color grading, that even if you're making the same effects or the same adjustments, it's not always going to be the same, obviously, from shot to shot, because there's a lot of different elements. So here we have a lot more shadows, a lot more black, so adjusting the lift, it's going to be a lot more visible than just something like this one where it's super flat. Now that we did our blue, we can add a little bit more of that orange right here. So before and after. It is looking a little bit pink if you look at it here. As you can see, it's a little bit pinkish. So what we can do is we can go back to color, and in the tint right here we can add just a hint of green. As you can see, that removes a lot of that pink right here. Beautiful. Alright, and now that you have a super awesome way to get your footage to look beautiful and clean and crispy, make sure you're out there practicing, impressing all your friends. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this video, and let me know things that you want to know more about. Make sure to hit that like button because it lets me know that this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.